Hey, what's up, everybody? If you're enjoying the video, please hit that subscribe button and give a thumbs up. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. It really helps support the channel and allows me to keep creating content for you guys.
It started with such hope, didn't it? Like the first bloom of spring after a harsh winter. We were selling our house. Our first home, the one we filled with laughter and whispered promises under thin walls. Min-jun, my husband, he'd said it was for a bigger future. A fresh start. He painted pictures of a brighter tomorrow with a house bathed in sunlight, space for children we dreamed of, maybe even a small garden where I could finally grow those roses I always wanted. The realtor came, all smiles and brisk efficiency. Viewings were scheduled. The house was cleaned until it gleamed, smelling of lemon and possibility. Min-jun was enthusiastic. Almost too enthusiastic. He'd handle all the calls, the paperwork. "Don't worry, Unja," he'd say, his hand covering mine, his smile a little too wide, a little too bright. "I'll take care of everything. You just focus on packing, on dreaming of our new life." But then, there were papers. Stacks of them. Loan agreements, bank statements, things I didn't quite understand. Min-jun would wave them away. "Just routine, sweetheart. House sale stuff. Sign here, here, and here." His finger would tap urgently on the dotted lines. I'd ask questions, of course. "What's this about a personal loan? And this credit line?" He'd chuckle, a low, dismissive sound. "Silly goose. It's just restructuring. To make things easier, you know? For the sale to go smoothly." I trusted him. Of course I trusted him. He was my husband. My partner. We were in this together, weren't we? But a seed of unease had been planted. A tiny, prickly thing that started to grow in the quiet moments when he was on the phone, whispering in hushed tones, when he avoided my eyes just a fraction too long. I pushed it down, that feeling. Told myself I was being silly, paranoid. It was just stress, the house sale moving the future. But deep down, a cold finger of dread had already begun to trace the outline of a nightmare. The house sold quickly. Too quickly, maybe. Min-jun was ecstatic. Celebrating with expensive dinners, new clothes, for himself mostly. He'd talk about investments, opportunities, vague notions of wealth and success. But the money from the sale, it wasn't in our account. Not all of it. "Processing," he said casually. "Takes time, with big transactions." His mother started calling. Constantly. "Unjia, are you helping Min-jun? He's working so hard for our family. You need to be supportive. Sign whatever he needs you to sign. It's for the best." Her voice, usually sharp and critical, was now syrupy sweet, but with an underlying steel that made my skin crawl. My husband's father, usually distant and silent, suddenly became concerned. "These things are complicated, Unji. Just trust Min-jun. He knows what he's doing." The phone call started then. Unknown numbers. Aggressive voices demanding to speak to Mrs. Park. Debts. Large sums. Credit card bills, personal loans, things I'd never heard of. When I confronted Min-jun, he exploded. "Why are you checking my phone? Don't you trust me? These are just business matters. Temporary. I'm handling it. You're making a mountain out of a molehill." He'd turn it around always. Make me feel guilty, insecure, like I was the one causing problems. He started staying out late. "Business meetings," he'd say vaguely, his eyes darting away. His clothes became sharper, more expensive. He carried a new phone hidden from me. Our bed, once a haven of shared dreams, became a cold, empty space. I'd lie awake, listening to the silence, the gnawing fear in my stomach growing with each passing night. I felt like I was suffocating. Trapped in a gilded cage, smiling for appearances while the walls were closing in. My voice, my questions, my concerns, they were all met with dismissal, anger, or that sickeningly sweet manipulation from his family. I was losing myself piece by piece, swallowed by their control, their lies, their suffocating web. Then the bank called. A polite, professional woman's voice, asking to confirm details about a loan. A loan in my name. A substantial amount. I froze. "There must be a mistake," I stammered. But there was no mistake. The woman patiently read out the details. My signature. My name. Attached to a debt I knew nothing about. The blood drained from my face. The room spun. The pieces started to click into place, forming a horrifying picture. The house sale, the rushed paperwork, Min-jun's secrecy, his mother's sudden sweetness, the debts. It wasn't restructuring. It was a trap. And I had walked right into it, blinded by love, by trust, by a dream that was quickly turning into ash in my mouth. He came home late that night, reeking of expensive cologne and something else. Something reckless and triumphant. He found me sitting in the dark, the bank statement clutched in my trembling hand. He tried to smile, that fake charming smile. "Unja, what's wrong? You look pale. Don't you unja me?" I screamed. The words tore from my throat, years of suppressed fear and anger exploding outwards. The loan. The house money. The debts. It's all me. You put it all on me. Didn't you? Didn't you? He finally dropped the act. The charming smile vanished, replaced by a cold, hard mask. "So you found out," he sneered. "So what? What are you going to do about it?" His eyes were devoid of any warmth, any love. Just a chilling calculation. I needed the money, Unji. For opportunities. And those debts, they were dragging me down. "You're my wife. You're supposed to help me. Support me. Support you." I whispered, my voice trembling. "By ruining my life. By stealing everything we had. Everything I had. The house, it wasn't just our house. It was mostly mine. Inherited from my grandmother, my small piece of security in this world. And he had taken it, used it, and left me with nothing but his debts, his lies, his betrayal." He slapped me. Hard. Across the face. "Don't you dare talk to me like that," he roared. "I am your husband. You owe me respect." Respect? He talked about respect? After everything he had done? Something inside me snapped. Years of being polite, of being obedient, of trying to be a good wife, shattered into a million pieces. The pain in my cheek was nothing compared to the gaping wound in my heart. But in that moment, amidst the pain and the rage, something else ignited. A spark of defiance. A flicker of fight. "Get out," I said, my voice low and steady, surprising even myself. "Get out of my house. Get out of my life. I don't ever want to see you again." He laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. "Your house. Honey, you're in debt up to your eyeballs. This house, it's going to pay for my future. You'll be lucky if you have the clothes on your back after this." He turned to leave, a smug grin on his face. He thought he had won. He thought he had broken me. But as I watched him walk away, a chilling realization dawned on me. He wasn't just leaving. He was disappearing. With all the money. And leaving me to face the wreckage. He was gone. Just like that. Vanished into thin air. His phone was disconnected. His family claimed they didn't know where he was. They even had the audacity to call me, demanding to know what I had done to drive him away. As if I was the villain in this story. I went to the police. Fraud. If they listened, they took notes. But their eyes held a familiar skepticism. "Marital disputes are complicated, Mrs. Park. And proving intent, it's difficult. Difficult. My life was in ruins and they called it difficult." The lawyer I consulted was equally discouraging. Legal battles would be long, expensive, and uncertain. Everyone seemed to be telling me to just accept it. Accept the debt, accept the loss, accept the betrayal. But I refused. I wouldn't accept it. Not anymore. I sold what little I had left. My jewelry, my clothes, everything I could liquidate. I found a small, cramped apartment. Started working 2 jobs, 3 jobs sometimes. Cleaning houses, waitressing, anything to stay afloat, to chip away at the mountain of debt he had left me. It was grueling, exhausting. But with every scrubbed floor, every served table, a tiny piece of my strength returned. I was broken, yes. But I wasn't defeated. Then the letter arrived. From a law firm. My heart sank. More debt. Another creditor? But it wasn't about debt. It was about Min-jun. He had been found. In a different city, living under an assumed name. He had been arrested. Not for fraud, not for theft. But for something else. Something much darker. Embezzlement. From his previous company. It turned out the debts weren't just his. They were a tangled web of illegal activities, of stolen money, of something far bigger than I had ever imagined. The letter detailed everything. The extent of his crimes, the people involved. And then the final paragraph, the one that made my blood run cold. During the investigation, evidence has emerged suggesting that Mrs. Eun-ji Park may have been complicit in certain financial transactions. Complicit? Me. The documents I had signed. The restructuring. It wasn't just debt he had shifted to my name. It was something far more dangerous. He hadn't just stolen my money, my house, my future. He had implicated me in his crimes, made me a part of his web. And now, even as he was caught, I was still trapped. The escape I had envisioned, the fight I had begun, it might all be for nothing. The nightmare wasn't over. It had just taken a darker, more terrifying turn. And I was still, utterly suffocating,